is the April CalsCom workshop, and CalsCom workshops happen throughout the year for those new to joining us. Next month is going to be about website creativity. So during this year, we kind of set the sessions to sort of build off of one another. And this month we're talking about creativity and sharing my screen. So I'm Janine Brumfield. I handle internal communications and public relations for the college. I have been with the university for almost 9 years. And just before doing that, I got my master's degree in communication from the university. And before that, I worked for a public mental health organization doing community relations. So that's kind of how I got to where I am. And I'm trying to find my right screen. Hold on one second. There is a question already. So again, yes, we have all of the CalsCom workshops are available after the fact on YouTube. That you know, it will lack the interactive part, but it is still available. We have, I think, going back through early 2020 available online. And it's a resource that has different people from throughout the university. And in one case, there were 6 faculty members who are very active in media relations, who do a great job promoting themselves. And so that we have a workshop with them talking about media relations for helping to promote them, the research that they do. And that was an interesting session. I think that was from July of 2021, maybe. Let me get to this slideshow. Okay, here we go. Usually I'm not the presenter. Usually I am just the host. And so this is a little bit clunkier because I'm not handing it off to someone. I'm handing it to myself. Okay, here we go. So striking up creativity, or sparking creativity, striking up momentum. That's kind of what we're talking about here today, trying to focus on what it is you want to be writing about. Or for me, I know that it's often not that I have writer's block, it's that I am not great about allocating time to write. I am able to get more done if I do lots of other little tasks rather than focus on writing. And so that's kind of like, what is going on when you get stuck? This is the interactive part. I need a little to and fro from all of you. But again, if you don't want to talk out loud, you're welcome to drop it in the chat. But what are some of the things that, what happens when you get stuck? What's going on?
I mean, I know for me personally, if I stare at the screen, nothing's going to come out. So a lot of times I just have to like get up and go move, and then I'm going to come back and have a lot more creativity just getting out of my seat.
I love that example. For me, again, like if my inbox is full and there are lots of little things that I can do that I know feel like, oh, I have this list and I could check off a lot of things, like the writing portion, I often have as one big thing. And so it's like harder to feel like I'm making progress with it. So that's usually what's happening for me. And so then Delwyn just shared, what have you done to beat writer's block? Getting up and moving. What are some other things people try?
Sometimes I'll try to talk about it with somebody, even if it's just somebody like my roommate or a friend, but just brainstorm a little bit, and that'll usually get my brain working a little bit more.
Thanks, Carol. Yes, just distracting ourselves and trying to brainstorm on the topic. Gosh, I just keep scrolling back and forth between the two. And then, so please, continue to feel like free to share. So here is just a little a meditation. I looked through a bunch of writers' meditations, but they were kind of like a little less active. They kind of, you almost shut down a little bit to kind of like recharge. And so this meditation is about like helping focus, and it's only 3 minutes long. So we're just gonna.
Okay, now we're going to do something very interesting. We won't close our eyes. Okay, so have what is called soft eyes, which means become aware of the space we're in. Don't focus on me, although you're aware of me on your screen, but actually I'm in your consciousness right now. But just be aware of the space we're in. And now let's start our meditation. So start to observe your breath. Start to observe your breath and don't manipulate it. And notice that even as you observe it, it slows down. Your mind will wander. When you become aware that it wanders, bring it back to your breathing. As it goes in through your nostrils and then out through your nostrils. Okay, now we're going to do something very interesting. You may keep your eyes open, but start to repeat your full name. So I am Deepak Chopra. I am Mary Jo. Repeat it mentally. And now invite all the stresses you have right now, all the things you have to do, your deadlines, all the problems you have, invite them. Let your awareness fill up with them. Okay, now drop your last name, just repeat your first name. I am Deepak, mentally. And this time, invite experiences from your childhood into your awareness. When you were less than 12, your parents, your siblings, your school, your classmates, happy days, not so happy days. Now drop your first name. Just say I am, with no labels attached. I am. Let memories and thoughts fade. Just I am. Now, if you want, you can replace I am with aham or om. Just a sound. No associations. Let's do it for a few seconds. Aham. Now, even let that go. Sit quietly and just be aware of being aware. This is our ground state before a thought arises, before a feeling. It's who we really are, a field of infinite potential. Rest in being. Rest in awareness. Rest in existence. Just be. Okay, before we come out, feel all the sensations in your body. I hope you're feeling a little refreshed. You can do this again and do it as often as you want. And you can do it for longer. Thank you.
God, it's hard to beat a 3-minute short meditation that gives you focus. So from there, I wanted to talk about 4 simple ways to kickstart your writing. These came from a website online, and the 4 are Goof It Up, Rewind and Review, Dear Me, and Time Limit. So the first one is warm up your writing muscles with a silly poem or story. I volunteered at my one younger child's book fair on Tuesday morning, and in the background of the library, they were reading Shel Silverstein. And I remember Shel Silverstein fondly from my childhood. And it was a nice reminder. And, they have, this was Where the Sidewalk Ends book. And they were reading, what is it, Sarah Cynthia Stout, Who Didn't Take the Garbage Out, or something. I can't remember. Sylvia, I can't remember the exact name, but you can always help me out if you know. And they were reading it in the background, and then these like 2nd grade kids were doing different exercises about the different poems. And so this kind of goof it up, you can write a haiku or a rap style verse, as long as it loosens those stiff creative muscles and makes you smile. So it doesn't have to be even necessarily exactly on task, but if it helps you to get going and have a little bit of momentum, again, like strikes your creativity up, sparks creativity. Rewind and review, print out the last few pages you wrote. And one of my colleagues, some of you may know, actually, I don't know if any of you know her, Dee Shore, she retired 2 years ago, and she was like, loved to print out things, and always found like, if you printed it out, even it just like brought new life to the document. And I think that was right on about that. So print out the last few pages you wrote, grab a pencil and read the pages, making a gentle deletion or 2, adding in a word and a new word and phrase. And editing is often a less dramatic way to kickstart your week. Of course, don't get so lost in the editing process that you forget to start writing. Sometimes I also feel like if there are articles that I remember that we wrote or somebody within the university or college has written, and I was like, oh gosh, I really like that, I'm going to go back and read what somebody else wrote. And especially one of the people that writes for the Cows magazine, her name is Chelsea. I adore her writing style. I find it really compelling. And so if I read something that Chelsea has written, that will help me kind of feel like, oh yeah, like I can write fancy like this too. And so that kind of gives me a little bit of inspiration. And then this is kind of going a different direction. Dear me, grab a notebook or your journal and longhand. Again, something about actually moving your hand and putting marks on a paper. Write down everything on your mind. In other words, a bit of a brain dump. In this way, you can get rid of all the inhibiting blockers. Sometimes even doodling, scribbling, or drawing on a blank page can get us going again. If your day allows, go for a brisk walk, like Dylan was saying, and talk about what is on your mind. Simply ignore the curious stares. I don't know why you would have curious stares. Very interesting. And then time limit. And I think this time limit can work even if you are working on your own business writing and you have something that you need to write for your particular function within the college. Even if it's an email, even if it's something that you just know you've been like putting off, just set a time limit, something short, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and try to just write whatever it is. You don't have to send it. That can be just a first draft, or maybe it will end up surprising you. In this way, you can create a ritual and get your muscles supple and warm before you start running a marathon of writing. I'm not quite sure about all that, but yeah, just like writing anything. If you and then like I know that Amy works for advancement, and I'm not sure, Amy, if you have to write thank you emails ever or thank you notes to donors. And sometimes you just like they're just the same over and over again, so monotonous. So like, what would you want to get in the mail? Like I always try to say, put myself in, like, if I was able to give this really special gift to the university, what would be meaningful for me to get in written form as a thank you? Like what would it be that would be like, oh wow, I'm so thankful that I was able to give that gift. So putting yourself in the situation. So here's where we're turning it over to the group. We're going to write a couple of these prompts. So get ready. This is interactive. And I'm all for taking, again, we're going to do this in small bits. It doesn't have to be long. We're probably just going to write for 5 minutes. I'd like it if you could write it longhand, but you don't have to. The pressure would be if we're all in person, then I'd be like, please put your computers to the side. But here we are on Zoom, and so we're doing it this way. And we can pick a communal prompt. We could all write on the same thing, or we could write individual prompts. What say you? I'll read through them while you all contemplate. Number 1, write about a time when you realized you were mistaken. Write about 2, write about a lesson you learned the hard way. 3, write about a time when you were inappropriate dressed for the occasion. Number 4, write about something you lost that you'll never get back. 5, write about a time when you knew you'd done the right thing. 6, write about something you don't remember. Interesting. 7, write about your darkest teacher, I guess, like grumpiest teacher, maybe. 8, write about your memory of a physical injury. 9, write about when you knew it was over. 10, write about being in love. 11, write about what you were really thinking. Right. 12, write about how you found your way back. 13, write about the kindness of strangers. 14, write about why you could not do it. 15, write about why you did. Do any of these speak to you? I will give you 10 seconds before I tell you what speaks to me. And then you will do we will do what I think, but I'd really prefer it to be someone else. These are my Deepak Chopra hands.
I think a good universal one's probably lesson you learn the hard way.
Okay, Delwyn for the win. All right, so we're gonna just write for 5 minutes. It's gonna go by a lot faster than you think. Please. I guess I could probably find a timer online, but we'll just do this the old-fashioned way. Five minutes on the clock. 10. We'll talk back at 10:26. Get going. All right. Does anyone want to share how they learned a lesson the hard way? And also, or does anyone want to share how this felt for them? How did it work well? Was it still stressful? Was it an enjoyable experience? Let us know.
I thought it was interesting. I haven't written for a prompt since maybe high school. So yeah, I thought it was interesting, and definitely a 5 minute limit was not a lot of pressure.
When you were writing Caro, did it feel like it was, were you second guessing yourself what you were writing, or did it feel like you could pardon me, like I even with this, I was like still striking stuff out and, you know, saying it a different way.
Yeah, I kind of did like a stream of consciousness in a way, and then started editing basically.
A professional communicator. There you go. And Dylan shared how I had to learn I couldn't continue coasting as a college student like I had through my primary education.
That was a very hard lesson.
How did the writing come?
Pretty smoothly, actually. I was surprised. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to write, but this is a good prompt, so let's go with it. And then it just kind of started flowing. So I was pretty surprised at how easy that prompt went.
So and like that's where it's I think that we can find, like, if we're needing creativity or if we feel like we're blocked there, we just like have to do a shift. Like I've heard that, you know, people who I struggle to fall asleep at night, but I know that there are people that fall asleep okay and then they wake up a lot. And I've heard that if you know, try to just like force yourself to go back to sleep in the middle of the night, it's much harder. So it's better to like almost distract yourself, read a book, you know, go get a drink of water, like whatever in the middle of the night, rather than just be like, oh, I'm not sleeping. And I feel like in a lot of ways, writing is that same way, that if you are like, oh, I have no creativity, this is awful, I just, you know, like, well, like, it's almost like trying to just forge ahead when really you may be able to better find that creative spark if you pivot or you kind of like turn to prompts like these. Or there's even, I don't know how many of you have been Instagram stalked by like the master's lessons. That was actually one of the things that I looked at prepping for this session. Was there's like a master's course on writing, and there was actually even, I'll share that link also, you know, suggestions that professional writers have about like getting unblocked or finding your creativity. And again, like forging right through, it's maybe just better to like write about the weather that day, or trying to or write an email back to a colleague that you really like corresponding with, something that will just get everything flowing, but is not as arduous as whatever it is that's like this big thing that you're having to you're trying to avoid, or not don't have this spirit to address at the time. Okay, so I'm gonna pick, Does somebody else want to pick one more prompt, or do you want me to pick it? You tell me. Not all at once. I taught public speaking to undergraduate students for 2 years, and there's a lot of lulls. And I'm a pretty dynamic, especially in person. I do lots of dances. It's hard to dance appropriately in the Zoom, but okay, so we'll do write about something you lost that you'll never get back. And we'll do this one. This one, should we do the same time or longer? Give me a thumbs up if you want it to be longer, and give me a thumbs down if you want it to be shorter. Going with Jessica. She says the same. We're going with 5 minutes. Okay. Ready, set, go. 10:38. Also, you know, how all of us who are used to writing on the computers, stretching our hands to write in with paper. Okay. How did that feel? Did that feel different? For Jessica, it felt the same.
For some reason, this one was harder for me. I think maybe just the prompt, but it was harder for me to think about something.
So I wrote like, I think twice as much as I wrote with the first one. But this is like my, oh, you can't see because of the thing. Oh, the thing. Anyway, I wrote like this much. And then I wrote a whole page. Oh, I guess I hold it in front of myself. There we go. Whole page. But I did pick the prompt this time, so maybe that was it. And then the last time I only wrote this. Yeah, so I guess like, but when when I read through the prompts initially, I was like, oh, I have something for number 4. So that's probably why I felt a little more like able to hold on to it. But how did it feel, the writing? Like once you were writing, was it the same, harder, or just different? Not harder, just different.
For me, I think the first one I spent a lot more like time trying to think and be creative. And so for this prompt, I let myself just kind of flow and write whatever came to my hand. So I feel like this one came out a little bit like faster, I think, because I just stopped trying to overthink it.
So we're going to do one more, and this is going to be work related. So for me, I'm trying to kick off a series where we highlight different people's like hidden not traits, but like something unexpected. Like, so are you an expert mountain climber? So it's like something about you personally, but it is something that not a lot of people that that you work with know about. So we're going to just do this one for just 3 minutes. So I want you to think about something that is something that you love about yourself, something that you're proud of. You won a, chess award when you were in 8th grade, or, you like to bake cinnamon buns every Saturday. It's just something that is something about you that's part of who you are, that is something a lot of people that you work with don't know about you, or anybody in general. So we're just, again, 3 minutes on this one. I will write that down so you can see it. Many boxes open. Okay. Okay, start. How'd it go? It went by fast. Jessica's saying she wrote less, but it was meaningful.
Yeah, I'd agree. Mine was probably the shortest I've written, but I think it's the most like close and personal.
Did it, do you think having written two previous prompts that were a little less personal kind of got you ready to be able to shift? Or do you think you could have, um, found your voice with this prompt regardless?
Um, I think without the time frame, I eventually would have gotten to where I am, but I think the previous two prompts kind of did kind of like put me in gear get a little more connected to things.
Yeah. I think that like that's a good thing to think about. Like again, we're not always coming head on, that you can take what you're working about from different angles. I think some of the suggestions that came from other websites, one was, start at the end, like what do you, or summarize, like what is it that you want, like for example, I think that 2 years ago I wrote a story about a field lab that was, the property was gifted to the university from this woman who had been, her farm adjoined a nearby field lab, and she, upon her death, her family decided to gift some of the land to the university for to take care of it into forever. And I was just struggling. I felt like this woman was so special. All these people are saying all this special stuff about her, but I don't really know why, other than that, like, why am I writing this? And it turns out that it was a lot about, because the proximity to campus, this property is, it's like really valuable to the university, because it's not like Wheeler, it's a different field lab, and it was that a lot of faculty members, it's big space, it's so a lot of faculty members want to use that space because it's close, it's proximity to Raleigh. And I just like couldn't come up, like initially I was just like, what am I going to say about this lady? She was really wonderful, really special, but I don't know how to connect all of that to the university. And like, if I would have been able to try to, I really had to step back and like summarize what was the purpose in writing about this for the college audience that I wanted to write about. And so like, it took that stepping back and trying to come up with what's the point of this before I was able to really delve in. Well, I know that some of you had questions that were, or I guess anything else you want to share about the writing of the prompts. Feel free to bring them on if you don't, if you haven't thought of them already. And then, do you all have questions, thoughts, or comments about how to bring this kind of into the other parts of your work? Or I know that there was some questions about newsletter curation and things that we didn't necessarily address head on here. Are there any questions that you all want to talk about? All right, so thank you for joining us today. You all know how to get in touch with me. I'm Janine Brumfield, and next month, Crystal Lynch, who handles communications and marketing for academic programs, will be leading a session about building with engaging content, creating a web page in WordPress that generates interest, engagement, and maximum impact. So that will be on May 18th at 10 a.m. The same Zoom channel, but there will be more to come about it. And again, thank you all for joining. And I'm happy to talk more. If you have questions, just let me know.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you, Janine.